That's so funny.
You're live. Hey! Hi guys, welcome to, if you can hear us, hopefully, our very first live stream and possibly our last, depending on how this goes. We wanted to do this as a thank you to all of you guys. Hope you can hear us all right. This is Marianne.
Hello everybody, let us know if you can hear us okay.
We wanted to do this really as a thank you for all your support. And it just means so much to us, and we thought it'd be great to try and, you know, I don't know, give something back, I suppose, and have a chat. So this is it really. Questions are rolling, so Marianne's going to keep an eye on the questions, and I'm going to chat nonsense. Is basically the format. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, you can hear us.
All sounds good.
It's working.
Yeah, we're live.
Rock and roll.
It's got 59 and a half minutes now.
Yeah. Okay. Ask us something.
Yeah.
There's two of them. I know.
You guys are all over the world. That's amazing.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Tell us where you're from. That would be great. Norway, scrolling up there. Rochester.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
Oh my God, they're going so fast.
That is really
There was
fast.
a question about smugglers there, but I couldn't see it at all. Amsterdam.
We could probably actually wind us back out. Hold on. Here we go.
Cool.
Lottery tickets. How about you? Do you buy lottery tickets? No, actually, I don't. It's not a bad idea. But no. But if I did pay lottery, it would definitely be for a boat. If I want to run a boat like Smugglers Blues 2, how much training before I could get out on the deep blue alone? That's a very good question. Okay, let's get asked a lot, so let's start with that one. The first thing is with regards to licensing. It depends what country you're in, of course. In the UK, you don't need anything. You literally just buy a boat and go. You might think, well, that's very dangerous. The reality of it is people don't, because obviously, you know, how would you? You wouldn't know where to start. So training, definitely very important. I would say it's tricky to say how long it takes, because it's like, you know, how long does it take to learn to drive a car? It will take one person a month, another person a year. But normally for most people, you can get people to come and train you on your boat, or you can go and do some training on so some companies run their own boats like a rib, and they'll train you on their boats. Is a good way of doing it, and probably a couple of weekends at that, and you're probably set to at least start getting out in the water and doing a bit of boating. And then, like all these things, your experience would then gradually expand, and your horizons would expand with it.
Okay, quick question about botanias in America. Why do you never see them?
I guess maybe they don't sell them there. Botanias, they're a lovely boat, really great boat. It's a fairly small company. They make those in Finland, if I remember rightly. And I guess probably their market is Europe, and that probably accounts for all their production. So they probably don't have enough capacity to build boats for America as well. America as well, actually, from what I'm told, and I'm no expert on this, but it is a different market to Europe. It's in terms of litigation, all that kind of thing. I understand it can be quite challenging. So I suspect if you're a small builder, then probably if you can sell enough boats into Europe, you probably wouldn't necessarily want to stretch yourself any further.
I love Nigel from Gosport's question. Do you think it's real soothsaying? Will there be any boat shows this year?
Ooh,
if you were a betting man.
I don't know. Dusseldorf, as you probably know, has just been cancelled, which is a real shame. So that got moved back from January to April, which was sensible, if a little bit disappointing. But they announced this week that Dusseldorf is now closed. And to be fair, Dusseldorf is a massive show, 17 halls, all indoors. So the preparation for that is vast. So I understand why they've done it. I did hear that the British Motor Yacht Show is planned to go ahead, and I think that's in May. I don't know is the honest answer. I would like to think and hope that as we get into the season, and if the COVID situation improves, of course, that's what it all hinges on. Maybe we'll see some shows later in the year. I certainly hope so.
Marmite in the office. Okay, so we have the real Marmite scenario here. I am a massive Marmite hater.
And I'm a massive Marmite fan, and the reason that Marion doesn't like it, she puts it on about 1 inch thick.
And it tastes like muck. But that aside, this came in the post for Nick quite recently and made both of us laugh an awful lot.
Yeah, this was actually from a yacht broker. I did a tour with, a video tour with Christian Moore up in Poole, lovely guy. And then he asked me for my address and wouldn't tell me why, and then this arrived in the post.
How cool is that?
So
that's fab. And like every Marmite jar should be kept fully sealed at all times. So this here.
That lives in the office.
We have an inflatable dinghy in the garage. Can you do the full tour, please? Well, you kind of did one of those, didn't you, in Ireland with my inflatable dinghy, which is the only boat that I own.
Yeah, with kayaks. We did a video kayaking up. What was the river?
It was the canal, actually, the
Canal.
Ballinamore Ballyconnell Canal.
It
Yeah.
was fantastic. So yeah, if you look for budget boating on Aquaholic, you'll find that. And it was basically because, and I maintain this very strongly, that clearly the big super yachts and everything that we're lucky enough to get on board from time to time are massively impressive and great to see. But if you're on the water, if you're floating, you're boating. And if that means going out in a kayak, go out in a kayak. It's still brilliant.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Loads of questions going to be asking about Smugglers Blues 3.
Okay, Smugglers Blues 3, what would we like to know?
Yeah, what's it going to be? And also, you have another question, which is if you had a budget of $1 million, what would you spend it on? So let's say you had $1 million to buy Smugglers 3.
Oh, $1 million. That is a tricky one. The problem with it is, it's, as we all know, it's not just buying the boat, it's running the boat. So, okay, I've got £1 million, great. I buy £1 million boat and suddenly it's costing me 30 grand a year to run and I can't afford it. So do you therefore buy a £500,000 boat and use the other £500,000 to run it? It's a tricky one. But if we assume that I've got the funds to run it because I've managed to acquire £1 million to buy it in the first place, for $1 million, I think I would go for a circa 50 foot, 55 foot second-hand, maybe a couple of year old Flybridge, Princess, Sunseeker, Fairline. It would depend on what's on the market at the time and so forth, because it's very easy, particularly second-hand, to say, what I really want is a Princess 55, but actually you might find that when you go to look, you find a really great example of a Sunseeker that's got the spec that you want and the colours that you want, and maybe that sways you that way. So it's hard to say if you're looking used exactly what you get. It depends what's in the market.
How big was B4? Because that boat was amazing.
72 feet.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
that's a lot more money.
So if it was 55, then it would be something that we could handle together. We wouldn't need.
Yeah, it's a similar concept to B4. Flybridge boat. You've got a cabin for guests, 2 cabins for guests, okay. 50 foot normally, and an ensuite and all that kind of stuff, and the saloon and the Flybridge. So like a scaled down B4, but yeah, we could manage that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure, absolutely.
I think we could manage B4.
Oh, I'd happily give it a go.
What's the worst that could happen?
Especially if you came with crew.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so people all over the place. Doha, Qatar, Spain. It's amazing.
Wow, how many people have we got?
I can't tell loads. It's incredible.
Several. Oh, here we are. 939.
Brilliant. Hello from Ireland. Owen, how are you today? Okay, so we need to get through some more questions because they're coming very thick and fast.
Okay.
Keith, that's about inflatable boats, lifeboats, best boats for tow boats and chilling out with trailer boats. So I'm interested in this answer because if I could buy a boat, my own boat, I would buy a little boat to trailer, and then I'd buy a car and a trailer as well, and then I'd get somebody to teach me how to drive all those things. But
you could get a Range Rover. You're a big fan of Range Rovers,
yeah, really big. Keep going. Trailerable boat. Okay.
Again, there's such a vast range. I would want something probably with a cuddy cabin. So you got somewhere, even if you never stayed on it, and you certainly can stay on it, people do, but even without that, having a cuddy cabin, someone to chuck your bags, chuck your coats, keep stuff in, have a loo in, that sort of thing is really important. Our friend Sue has got a Regal 2250, I think it is.
Lovely size boat.
And she trailers that about the place. They go all over the place with that.
That's Dillygaff. You've seen that?
Yeah, Dillygaff. So if you see the Smugglers Blues videos, you've almost certainly seen that one on there. Blue hull, yellow stripe, smart boat. Diesel engine in that as well, which I think is nice. Something like that, and a boat like that, probably second hand, 20, 25 grand, maybe 30 grand, depending on how old it is. Be ideal. Yeah.
I'm going to say hello to Bermuda and India and Norway. All amazing places. Never been to India, but would love to. Bermuda, fantastic holiday there 20 years ago. Must come back. There was a question for you, Nick. It was no, it wasn't that one. I think I might have lost the question. Any good boats for full-time living?
Yeah, lots of boats. Again, it all comes down to budget. I think. I mean, people say what size boat you need to live on, and it's a very subjective question because, ultimately you could live in a tent, and therefore ultimately you could live in a cuddy cabin boat that wouldn't be very comfortable. I think 40 to 50 feet, that sort of thing. I'll tell you what I saw recently was boats.co.uk have a Carver. I think it's about 40 feet, but it's an aft cabin. So loads of space, and it's about £70,000. And I thought, actually, if you just wanted to put a boat somewhere and stay on it, as a almost like a floating apartment, that would be brilliant. So that kind of thing would work well. But as I say, I do know a guy who used to live on a 28-foot Princess, so it can be done in a much smaller boat. But I think really, if you're full time, you want to be 40-foot plus.
Wide beam barge only comfortable liveaboard. Thank you, Georgina Mahan. That's an excellent bit of insight there.
I've heard of her.
Yeah, really? No.
Quite a famous Italian girl, isn't she?
Forgettable girl, I found. A lot of questions asking about Jacques and Maggie. We've had to lock them in a room, quite terribly behaved. They wanted just to run this whole show, so
yeah,
we'll let them out later. Canada loves you. Well done.
Just me, not you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm doing a great job managing this. Thank you, Brian Bowden. He's like an Irishman. You're on my side. I like that. Okay, so you're doing very well with your questions. Steel boat over GRP?
Oh, well, that depends how and where you're using it. So steel gives you strength, but it tends to be very heavy and it requires more maintenance. So if you're looking for a serious explorer, really serious, sort of crash through ice flows sort of thing, steel makes a lot of sense. If you're looking for a planing boat like a Princess or something like that, steel boat just isn't going to work. So it depends what sort of boat you want. You need to know what the boat is before you can answer that question. However, GRP fiberglass is certainly the most popular because of the cost of it and the low maintenance of it and so forth.
Ken Close says they love what I've done with my hair, so stylish, and I completely and utterly agree.
Oh, totally, yeah. The
lockdown had a big silver lining, didn't it?
Literally.
Yeah, it wasn't bad for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite boat manufacturer? You get to choose one.
Oh,
Careful.
No, yeah, exactly.
Careful.
I'm not sure I can answer that. It
Okay.
depends on the boat. So I was thinking about this earlier, actually, because I knew somebody would ask this, and it's a bit like you can look at, would you prefer Porsche or Mercedes or Bentley or Ferrari? Well, if you wanted a really good sports car, you'd go for a Porsche or Ferrari. If you wanted a nice, comfortable cruiser, you'd go for a Bentley. So you can't really say that one manufacturer is necessarily better than others. Some manufacturers are better at certain things than others. So, it depends what you want.
Will Smugglers be coming out of dry dock this year?
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, really, really hoping to get out there as soon as possible, keeping an eye on everything COVID related and how it's going to affect us. How's your life changed after launching Aquaholic? And by the way, a previous comment said how very positive you are, so maintain that.
I'll do my best.
It's been nothing but good, though, hasn't it?
Yeah. So Aquaholic, how's life changed? It's just been revolutionary, really. I mean, I've done stuff like the trip I did to America last year, which was just fantastic, and because Aquaholic is completely my own baby, and I can do what I want with it, I am able to just sort of enjoy it a bit and do stuff that I think would be good for the channel and good for me. So I was able to fly upper class, and I was able to rent a Ferrari when I was over there, and all the sort of stuff that if I tried that working for a magazine would see me on my ear in no short order. So it allows me a lot more freedom and to have a lot more fun, I think is how I'd answer that question.
Hello, Johnny McHugh Shepherd. How are you doing there? Have we been to...
Johnny McHugh Shepherd? I've heard of him.
Have you?
He's a lovely boy. A lovely
so
boy.
Much. Yeah, he gives trouble. Have we been to Newport, Rhode Island? You probably haven't, but no. I spent an amazing summer in Newport, Rhode Island when I was a wee lass in 1995. Absolutely brilliant, beautiful place. And such lovely, lovely people. Really,
I'd love
really
to go there, actually.
Yeah.
That's very much on the bucket list.
Yeah, that whole part of New England is just gorgeous, amazing place, and huge history as well. Really,
and you have to go there in the autumn, I think. They say the autumn's the time to go there.
Yeah, for the colours of the trees, it's true. Yeah. But then the water in summertime is lovely, really beautiful.
All right, it's on the list. Once we get out of this whole scenario we're in now, we should go there.
Yeah, there's a long list though, places you want to go.
It's true.
Who edits your Aquaholic videos, Aquaholic?
I do.
There we go. Short answer.
Yeah, I do it all. I literally do everything. I do all the Instagram stuff and Facebook uploads, and I also do my very, very best to read every single comment. I get up in the morning, first job, once I've had breakfast, sit down and go through all the comments that come in that night, and then I check it regularly. And where relevant, reply to them, because I actually find the interaction with you guys to be one of my favorite bits of it. It really feels like we've created a bit of a bit of a community, I think, really, with the people. You know, we get such lovely comments, and everyone's polite and respectful in the main, and enthusiastic. You know, there's a lot of enthusiasm for boats and the boating community generally, and so yeah, I do all of that, and as I say, I do try very, very hard. Sometimes I might not get all of them, but I do my very best to certainly read all the comments and reply to anything relevant.
They are super positive and really heartwarming, and it's so nice because you work a lot at night and struggling away, answering and looking at those comments and editing videos, and then to see all these lovely things people say, it really does make a massive difference. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it makes it worth it.
Yeah.
You know, if you didn't get any feedback, you just think, no.
Yeah, you like just throwing stuff into the void.
Yeah.
Okay. Sailboats. People want to see more sailboats.
More sailboats are coming. I am doing more on the sailboats, and I've been quite pleased as well, actually. When I've done them in the past, I haven't had much response, but more recently, people are certainly more interested. So yeah, we're going to try and keep the sailboat side. I'm quite power orientated in my own tastes. So although I have sailed and I enjoy sailing, my first choice would always be a motorboat. So I think the bias, my own bias, will out, and it'll be predominantly power boats, but we're definitely going to keep the sailing boats coming.
So somebody asked what I do when you're gallivanting around the world. I am a teacher, so for my sins, I spend my time working with teenagers, and that keeps me fresh, keeps me excited and interested in life.
Yeah, you're the one with the proper job, aren't you?
Yeah,
basically, you're the one with the responsible, you know, doing something for the community, and I just go and get about.
Yeah, gallivanting is the word that was used.
I think that's about right.
They weren't wrong, were they?
No.
Not at all. There was a great question here. I think it was.
Oh, there's Luso Yachting. Hello, Luso Yachting. Amanda. I think it's Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Hopefully it is. When's your OB coming?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I think you guys need to really
push for that.
Lobby for it. Yeah,
push, absolutely. Okay, people love these cuddy cabins, and Darthaven, are you going to do a trip to Canada? We'd absolutely love to. More traveling, the better, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're big into that. We've really felt this year. I mean, I started off January, I was in Dusseldorf, and then February I was in Miami, and then March was kind of when the COVID thing came in, and all of a sudden it was like having my wings clipped, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had
really
a charter booked as well with boats.co.uk. We did a charter with them last year.
In 1919 now, actually.
No, you're right. It was, of course, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We did a charter on a Princess 72. If you've not seen that, look up AQUAHOLIC Ultimate Charter. It was the best video I've ever made, and we just had such a blast. We took the kids with us, and it was fantastic. And we had such a good time. They then brought in a sailing boat, which is an Oyster 825, and we went, right, we're going to do that again next year. We actually had it booked. We were all excited. And then, of course, with the COVID situation, we kept it flexible. We kept hoping we were going to do it, but it got to the point where, unfortunately, we could have got there, but we would have had to quarantine coming back for 2 weeks, and with work and everything else, it just wasn't viable. So we are hoping to get out there again this year. But yeah, we've had our wings clipped this year, haven't we? A
lot, yeah, and such a shame. So that's a good question. Smugglers Blues used to have a Tom's River, New Jersey pillows. What's their origin story? I actually don't know the answer.
Okay, well, this is an interesting one. I wandered into Dunham Mill one day. I thought, I really like those cushions, and bought them.
Fascinating.
I know, isn't it?
Are you going to do any more house tours?
Maybe the house tours. So the reason I did the house tours was because I just cannot get to super yachts at the moment, and I thought maybe they would be a good kind of replacement for doing the super yachts. And so I did a few, and they were reasonably well received, but they didn't go quite as enthusiastically received as the super yachts did. So I haven't kind of pushed them, but I've made some quite good couple of good contacts with estate agents, and if they phone me up and say you've got a really nice house, I would definitely do it, because it is interesting, and actually it's really fascinating. We had a look at that Braganza, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, amazing. Just have a wander around these huge houses. I mean, you could put my house into them several times over, many times over.
Absolutely.
So fascinating. There's a good thing I think about the house tours and also the walk videos that you did, was that when we were in the worst of the lockdown and you really couldn't do, the walk tours, when you can do anything else, got you out and about and gave you a focus and something to do.
Exactly, and that was kind of the idea of it, really, was just to kind of keep the content coming. So as Marianne said, I did a few walking tours around, because all I could do was I was allowed out to exercise. This is in the first lockdown, and so I thought, right, well, I'm exercising, I'll take the GoPro along and make some films. But again, they weren't terribly popular. Well, they were the most popular, least popular videos I did, because not many people watched them, but those that did in the comments seemed to absolutely love them. So
They were beautiful things.
They were,
lovely, really
yeah.
restful, lovely.
Yeah.
Can I say hello to VIP Car Care's 90-year-old mother? She's a big fan.
Excellent.
That's great. Another question about Marmite.
Yeah,
I have to
of
come
course.
back. Yeah, thank you, Ken. The walks were amazing. What is super yacht length?
Okay, so the
There's a joke in there somewhere.
the industry standard of what defines a super yacht is at 24 meters. However, it's slightly more complicated because it is load line length. Now, that is the basic structure of the hull. So you might have a bathing platform that sticks out. And what some manufacturers do in order to keep the boats under 24 meters, because the regulations change quite a bit as you go over it, is they'll do things like they'll have a very flat front of the boat, and then they'll put what they call a crash structure on. So the crash structure is not part of the boat technically, but actually when you look at it, it's part of the hull. But roughly it's 24 meters is when you start calling it a super yacht.
Cool, very good.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Okay. When will boats be fully electric? What an interesting question.
We're starting to see that a little bit more. The problem with boats is, compared to a car, they use a huge amount of fuel because you're pushing them through water, and water is 800 times denser than air. So you're impressed by that?
I am very impressed. Would you take a moment, people?
Should I say it again?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so because water is 800 times denser than air, and so
extraordinary the way you just trotted out that science fact.
Yeah,
I'm
so
very impressed.
Marianne, I should point out here, is a science teacher. So she's
I wouldn't have been able to spot that one.
She's the scientist of the family. So yeah, so as a result, they use a lot of fuel, and that's why the range of these things. People say, well, no, it does 200 miles range. Well, it's because of the amount of energy that goes in just pushing it through the water. Now, the problem is, of course, that with electric power, there just isn't the storage really, unless you're like on a river and you can recharge regularly and you're just going very slowly. But in terms particularly of planing boats, the technology isn't quite there yet. Having said that, there is a company, and I can't remember the name of it, and they've created a hydrofoil electric boat. So the whole boat is lifted completely clear of the water, and it's just running on like fins. And so the drag is much less. And it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. We might see that developing, but it's in a sports boat. You're not going to see a 70-foot flybridge boat flying on fins powered by electric just yet.
So I've lost it now, but there was a question about silent yachts. Is that what they meant as well?
Now silent yachts. So what they do is they have very, very narrow hulls. It's a catamaran. So these narrow hulls that it sits on are very easily driven. And because it's a catamaran, there's a massive, massive deck area. So they put like a bimini top on it, and they put solar panels. Okay. And because it's so easily driven, and it goes fairly slowly because it's so easily driven, on a sunny day, it will actually be creating as much electricity as it's using. So it will run in theory forever. Now, the most asked question is, when am I going to go and do a silent yacht tour? Because everybody wants to see one, and so do I. But I'm stymied at the minute by the travel situation. I've spoken to Silent. They're keen to do it. I'm keen to do it. And we will do it as soon as we can. But I just can't get out of the country at the moment.
Yeah. Everybody loves Nordhavens, and somebody asked earlier about a Nordhaven 80, but I thought you'd done that. Is that am I wrong?
Not an 80. I don't think I've done an 80.
I may have read
I've done about 4. The biggest was the 120, which was just amazing, and the smallest was a 40. And I'm sure there is an 80, but I don't recall doing it. But
what was the Nordhaven you did in Miami last?
That was
January?
The 120.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. That's
super
what I
yacht.
was remembering.
Yeah.
And there was a question about, which I think is a good one to ask, where a lot of the boats that you review are for sale. Do you get commission?
No. No, it's an interesting thing, and it's part of, people say, in fact, I did some videos with a yacht brokerage in September last year, and I was talking to the guy there, and I have been doing a few videos with him in the past, and he said to me, we were having a chat about things generally, a nice guy, and he said, you came and did those videos for free right at the beginning. He said, and I thought we'll get a few videos out of you for free, and then it'll be, I want £1,000 a video or whatever else. He really was convinced that's going to happen. I've never ever have charged for a video, and I never will charge for the video. So the YouTube channel earns me some money from the advertising that's put on it. That's enough to live on, and I don't want to charge for it because I don't want them to become like advertorials. I don't want anybody to be able to say to me, right, well, I want you to show this. I'm paying you money, so don't show that. Make sure you show that. Don't go in the engine room, that kind of thing. At the minute, people are pretty comfortable because they're not paying anything for it. They're quite happy to say, sure, there's the boat, help yourself, knock yourself out, and I can mostly do what I want. So I want to keep it that way. Also, actually getting the sheer quantity of videos that I need to keep the channel going. I try and do 3 a week. And if you were charging for them and people are going, well, maybe then we'll just get you to do 1 or 2 rather than 5, I think it wouldn't work anyway. But I've no intention of ever charging anybody to do videos. No, and no, I don't earn any commission when I sell the boats. And that brings on to another question which I get asked a lot, so I mentioned it. Has anybody bought a boat after seeing it on Aquaholic? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Yeah, and one dealer in particular, which is Approved Boats, the Galleon guys, lovely people actually. David O'Rourke up there is a really nice guy, and he's a massive Aquaholic fan, partly because he's actually sold several boats to people who've come along and said, I really like the look of these Galleons. I saw them on Aquaholic and I've ended up buying them. So yeah, it does sell boats, but no, I don't get any kind of kickback or commission.
Okay. If you could, thank you, Mark. If you could take a year or 2 off work, what dream voyage, I guess, would you want to take?
Oh.
So you get 2 years, no work. I'm going to guess income is secured. There's still going to be money coming in.
Yeah.
I'm coming too.
Cool.
Kids are going to educate themselves.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go?
The Med. We're going to get something like B4, like a 70-foot Princess, and we're going to start right over in Gibraltar.
Right.
And then we're going to work away. How long are we going? 2 years?
2 years.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, we're going to go all the way along the Med in 1 year. And then I think you can go down, Croatia is down that end, the other end.
Yeah, you've got to go around Italy, okay.
Yeah,
and
around
then back
Italy,
up to Croatia. Okay.
Croatia's beautiful. I've done a little bit of boating in Croatia only once. It's a stunning place. And then we're going to go down, following year, I think we can go towards the Greek islands and Turkey and all of that.
Right.
All the way around there.
That's going to take 2 years now. I'm taking him to Norway.
Okay. Sorry, ask the boss. Maybe you're asking me.
I really
Why don't we have my year in the Med, right? Okay. And then your year can be...
Well, I would definitely go up north of here straight away. I would go past Scotland, the Hebrides, and
it's cold.
Oh, beautiful, into the Norway fjords, because I think they would be amazing. Okay, my geography gets a little bit dodgy here, so at some point I'm going to dump the boat, right, and get on a train, because I really want to go across Eastern Europe and I want to go through Russia. So the Trans-Siberian Express, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, this is Ray Boaty, go on.
Yeah. It's fine, we'll get back to the boat.
Okay.
The boat's going to be lifted out and taken over to Kamchatka for us.
Oh, sounds nice.
On it there. And yeah, no,
we got another boat. We got another boat there. Barren, lovely.
A lot of volcanoes. And then down now, past Japanese islands, round by China, Korea, possibly go fast there.
I'm going to do well for food here, aren't I? Stock it up before we go. Put some stuff in the freezer.
Oh, yeah, no, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of ham sandwiches, a lot of Marmite.
A lot of Marmite, yeah. No, that sounds good. Okay, I did some boating.
Mix of those two trips, I think.
A couple of times I've done a thing called Finboat, which is in Finland. They have a lot of very small dealers that make some really lovely boats. And because they're quite a small setup, they have a marine trade association, and they set up a thing called Finboat, and they get journalists from all over the world. I mean, literally, there's a guy there from Japan, for example. They put us all in a nice hotel, and then what we do is we choose the boats in advance, and they work it all out, and we go out on the boat in the morning, and they have maybe 30 or 40 boats there. We do half an hour on a boat, and then we stop and switch to another boat, another half an hour. We go the whole day all around these archipelagos, and then we come back in the evening, and the next day we do it again. We do it over 3 days. And honestly, the boating up around there is just gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. So if we're going up around there, we need to do that. Go around the Finnish archipelago.
Oh, nicely done. I think the thing about boating, though, is it's just beautiful wherever you're doing. And this struck me both when you took me out of Devon, around the South Devon coast. I mean, it's so gorgeous. And Devon's beautiful anyway, but to see it from the sea, you're really struck by how fantastic it is. And you're away from people and noise and so on. It's really quiet and calm and just astonishingly beautiful. And it's exactly the same, though, whenever I've gone on in my little kayaks in the west of Ireland. To see the land from water just gives you a completely different perspective on land, on everything that you can see, and on life generally, really. So I think I'd be very happy. I will go to bed with you. If you insist, I'll spend a year doing any of that, whatever. It's all amazing.
And it has to be said, in fact, that I've been very, very lucky, because when I've been a marine journalist for 10 years, and so I've been to launches for boats everywhere from Dubai to the Med to Croatia to all over the place. And there's no question that, okay, we don't get the weather here, but when we do get the right weather and we're boating along the south coast, we go up the River Dart, we go down to Salcombe and places like that, there is nowhere nicer.
Yeah.
I mean, there are places that are as nice, but we are so blessed here when we get the right weather. We don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to go to the Med. We've got it all here, and we're very, very fortunate.
It's so beautiful, honestly. I can't tell you. And it's such an antidote to life as well, I find, like at the end of a busy week, to get to the boat and go out, not even go far, just have some nice, simple food and some quiet time. It's just fab.
If you haven't seen it, check out a video on Aquaholic, Wet, Wet, Wet. And they did a concert on a beach down the coast, about 10 miles down the coast. And so Marianne came from school straight down. I had the boat all ready to go. And we just leapt straight on the boat when she got here at 4:30 or something.
Yeah.
Met up with our friends Greg and Sally on their boat at Brixham, and then we blasted down and anchored off. We had the concert; it was brilliant. And we went back and we went to Brixham, and we had the weekend, and it just felt like we'd been away for a week, didn't it?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, by the Saturday morning, I felt like I'd been away for several days already.
Yeah.
And you just really, it'll be a few hours. I want to say hello to Arthur's son, Charlie.
Oh, hello,
Charlie watches your videos at night before bedtime. That's very, very nice.
Excellent.
And Val, we haven't tried canal barging, certainly not together, but something I'd really like to do, especially up in the industrial Midlands of the UK. You can do some amazing canal trips around. Get my cities right, Manchester and possibly Birmingham, that whole area, loads and loads of canals.
Yeah.
And that really slow, very quiet pace of boating along, I think that'd be fun. And then our friend Georgina works for a barge company in the west of Ireland as well, and that would be something to try there too. Just lovely.
And while we're on barges, I put a riverboat on the channel recently. It was a Banks Martin, and it was the first one of a sort of almost dedicated riverboat. I had a lot of interest in it, and people said you should get some narrowboats on there. So I went up through the Thames, and I have done a couple of walkthroughs on. They're actually called wide beams. They're like a narrowboat, but they're wider. But they're spectacular. Inside, you imagine to be all sort of quite dark and lots of teak and timber and stuff. But these were really light and bright and amazing. So they are coming to Aquaholic within the next few weeks. So if you're into your riverboats, stay tuned.
Apparently I'm a superstar. Who knew?
It's true. Oh, I knew.
Fermanagh Lakes, nowhere more beautiful in the entire world, I think. Do you know how to sail? Nick does.
I used to have sailing boats. My father was into sailing, so when I grew up around sailing boats, and my first ever boat at the age of, I think, something like 14 was a mirror dinghy. Some of you know what those are. It's a wooden pram dinghy sailing boat. I used to sail that on the River Dart, and then later on I had a laser. If anyone knows what laser is, it's a sort of a single sail, really good fun actually. I wouldn't mind another one of those. So yeah, I can do the sailing thing. It's something I enjoy. I wouldn't rush to have a sailing boat, but I think when I'm fabulously wealthy and retired, after Marianne's becomes a supermodel, then we might have an 80-foot flybridge boat, and I would put a laser on that, I think, so we could do a bit of sailing. I'd love to have a sailing boat.
Not ever going to happen then, is it? So then the question the Faye asks is, have you ever fallen overboard? And I would say, previous question on sailing. Yes, a lot. No, bad sailor, bad. You've only fallen overboard?
Well, when I was sailing dinghies, of course, then they would capsize, so you would count that as
so glad you don't sail.
But I did once fall off a boat when I was sailing boats. So I was putting a canopy on a boat once after being out for sea trial. It was October. It was in Torquay Marina. It was all very cold, and the canopy was, I was struggling to get the canopy on, and it was a small boat, and I was putting the canopy down like this to get it onto the windscreen and pulling, slipped, went off backwards. So yeah, I haven't yet fallen in with a camera whilst filming. If I do, I will definitely put it on the channel.
Have you ever seen large sharks while boating?
Ooh, now, shark. I don't think I've seen a shark. I have seen a whale, and we've definitely seen dolphins.
Yes. Not probably quite as many dolphins I'd like to see. Right, we have to talk about Marmite again.
Okay.
Because it's come up 15 more times. Mm-hmm. Okay, the story of the Marmite is, Nick.
I went to do a video with Christian Moore up in Poole. You've got your finger. Oh, yeah, so that's what you're doing. Yeah. I went to do a video with Christian Moore up in Poole, who is a fan of the channel. And he's a broker. And we did a video with him on a Princess V39. And afterwards, he said, could I have your address? I want to send you something. And I said, yes. And then about a week later, this turned up.
Aquaholic, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Now, clearly, Marmite is muck, but nonetheless.
There it is.
Keep it sealed up there, and
Yeah.
it brings him pleasure. But you know, we don't have to actually have it in the kitchen.
No.
Okay, quick, very specific question, purely hypothetical. Oh cripes, I've lost it. Yeah, it was. Would you choose this boat or that boat?
Yeah, it's good. I love that boat.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good every time. Absolutely.
Obvious, really.
Yeah. What's the most expensive boat you've ever been on?
Oh!
I think I know that.
Now, a few years ago, I was doing some freelance writing for Boat International, which is a super yacht title. Really, really lovely magazine, and they just do super yachts. And they sent me down to Dubai to do a boat called Silverfast. And I would suggest Google this because there is a video of it on. It was 77 meter. It was just incredible. And I actually got a trip on that one from Oman up to Dubai. So I landed in Dubai, they drove me to Oman, and then I came back to Dubai on the boat. So that was pretty impressive. And also another one called Indian Empress, which was just vast. It was, I think that was 95 meters. It had, if I remember rightly, a 15-seater cinema. I had lunch on board in the smaller of the two dining rooms, which seats 12 people. Yeah, it was like a small cruise liner. It was absolutely off the scale. It was amazing, and I would just so wish I could get onto those boats with a camera and do an Aquatic tour. And I hope one day we'll get onto some of that really mega big custom stuff. But it's difficult because the owners of those tend to be very, very private about what they've got. And Boat International, I think, is suitably what's the word I'm looking for, respected, that people are happy for their boats to be seen in it. But whether they want it on the internet is another matter. But hopefully times will change and we'll get onto something suitably super yacht like that at some stage. But yeah, those are the biggest ones I've been on, and they were off the scale. Unbelievable.
Somebody said you're not wearing a watch. Is it
Oh,
true? Oh,
no,
he is wearing
a watch. There you are. Watch.
What is it?
It's an Omega Seamaster 300M. It's the one that James Bond wore in the Pierce Brosnan era.
Champion, well done. If you could choose where to live, where would you live?
Very happy here in Torquay at the moment. I like Poole. I've talked about Poole before, haven't I?
Yeah.
If I had to go and live somewhere else, I think Poole is really nice.
You want to live in the Med as well, don't you?
I was going to say, what I would really love in the ultimate situation would be to have a place down in Cannes. I love Cannes, and to be able to go down there in the autumn and in the spring and get a bit of winter sunshine. Yeah, I'd love to have a place down there. I'm not sure I'd want to live down there permanently.
Just have a place there.
I'd love to have a place there.
So some sort of winning combination of Devon and Ireland. You missed Ireland, but that was...
It's just so obvious.
It's a given, I understand.
It's a given, yeah.
And the Med. No, that's fine.
And we can sort of bounce between the three and keep boats there as well.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Montauk Time Lord has seen a basking shark in Weymouth Bay.
Awesome.
Which reminds me, when we were out boating last summer, probably about September time, remember we saw that big something
we did,
came out of the water and landed, and it was just in my peripheral vision.
Yeah.
And so we stopped the engine and went over to have a look, and it was a massive, what do you call it, ripples, massive pool of ripples.
Yeah, something bigger
had
been
gone
there.
down.
It's much bigger than
But I don't know what it was. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah.
How amazing would that be? So you've helped people during this lockdown. Well done you.
Excellent. Well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah. That's the most expensive. We've had that. Bloopers videos. I mean, that would suggest that he makes mistakes.
Never happens. Never happens.
Georgina says you had a good comeback. That would be the only one he ever gets away with, Georgina. Will we get orcas? I'd love to see an orca. So it's a little bit dark. Okay, fair enough. Do you think... Are you drunk, Nick?
Not yet.
A little bit of alcohol.
I was slurring. What did you put in there?
You know, the usual.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
Have you been to Sweden? No. Can you do a cruise ship tour? Oh.
Briefly.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I went to Volvo Penta.
You did, didn't
you?
And
they showed me some boats, and then they took me out on a Chris craft, which was really fast, and I had to wear a crash helmet and a thing around my neck because it went over 50 miles an hour or something.
Chris craft are very, very beautiful.
Yeah, they are a lovely boat.
What are your thoughts on dry stack storage? Well, this is actually fascinating. What are your thoughts on dry stack storage?
I think dry stack storage is an excellent solution. It keeps the boat completely fresh. Yay!
I'm going to talk to Maggie while you talk about dry stack storage.
Understood. However, I'm not sure I'd have my own boat in a dry stack storage, because for me, I do like to be able to wander down to the boat and just potter about on the berth and not necessarily take it out. And with dry stack, it's kind of, they put it in the water so it's ready to go for you. You get on board, you go and you go do booting, you come back, you're tied up, and then they lift it out and you go home. So it is a very good solution. It's great for small boats that you wouldn't necessarily want to stay on unless you're out using it anyway. But for me, I'd rather have it in the marina and just be able to go and potter about.
Have we been to New Zealand? I have. Have you? I've not been to New
There's
Zealand.
Kieran. Hello, Kieran. I see him a lot about the place.
Hello, Kieran. How are you?
Kieran, what's his surname?
Harriman?
That's the man.
Okay.
Sorry, what's the question?
Have you been to New Zealand?
No, I haven't.
Have you been to Ipswich?
I have. Yes, I have.
Where's Ipswich?
Ipswich
Norway,
no, Ipswich is on the east coast, and I'll tell you who's in Ipswich is Fairline. Have a commissioning place in Ipswich because they're in Oundle. So I went up there to test a Fairline, Targa, 48 for Motorboats Monthly.
Fascinating.
I knew you'd be pleased.
Yeah. Have you been in a boat crash?
Oh, yes.
Did you cause it?
No. Okay. A couple of things here. There is a thing that I've heard about and never experienced, which is called hooking, which is a very, very high performance boat. Sometimes you're going along, and as it turns, the bow kind of digs in, and it's almost like a handbrake turn. It sort of grips, and the back of the boat flicks around. And I was out on a lake in Switzerland. Zurich is on it, I think, but I can't remember what the lake is called. Lake Geneva, maybe?
Sounds excellent to me.
Yeah, it could be that. Anyway, we were doing a review of a galleon, and they said, we'll get a guy with a rib so he can do some photography. And we came cruising past at about 35 knots, and we were going to do a sweep around the bow, and I was filming, and I was at the back of the thing, and all of a sudden it just went bang, did a complete spin, nearly went off the boat. It was frightening. And I would just like to say at this point, kill cords. Absolutely always wear kill cords. And I got on the boat, and the guy was driving it on boats that you could get thrown out of. So big boats, my boat you wouldn't need, but on small boats definitely. And the thing with that one was that the guy who was driving it wasn't somebody to do. They kind of commandeered this guy to take us out, and he wasn't wearing a kill cord, and I was too British to ask him to put it on. And then that happened.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had that trouble.
No, we're not British. That's why. Yeah, so that's one. And another one, we were out in France doing some photography, and we were on a rib, and this boat came out of the harbour and was heading straight for us, and we thought, why is he heading straight at us? And he literally just bounced off at about 40 knots. And it turned out that the guy we were with on the rib ran a boat dealership, and it was one of his mechanics, and he thought it would be funny to roar past us really close and got it wrong and hit us. Yeah, and luckily he bounced off the tubes.
Crazy.
Genuinely scary.
Have you ever crashed a boat into a wall, Nick?
Yes.
Okay, they're moving swiftly on.
No, I'll tell you a story of that. Many years ago, I ran a yacht brokerage. At that point, I don't think I was running it. I was just working there. It was a Princess 35, Flybridge Princess. I was cleaning it. I cleaned one side, and I took it off the berth to clean the other side, and manoeuvred it from the Flybridge, came down the ladder, took the fenders off to put it on the other side, and as I was trying the last fender, I realised the wind started to pick up, and we were heading straight for a wall at about 3 miles an hour. And so what I should have done is run inside the boat and put it into the stern, but because I wasn't very good with boating, I went up to the Flybridge, and when I got there just in time to see it collide with the wall at about 3 miles an hour, and it bent the anchor. So yes, I have crashed a boat into a wall, but at 3 miles an hour, and I wasn't actually driving it at the time, but I should have been.
Okay, very good. Do you like going on cruise ships? We've been asked this a few times because obviously there are cruise ships parked in the bay.
That's true.
Would you like to tour one?
I've never been on one. I would like to tour one. I think it'd be fascinating. The idea of having a holiday on one doesn't appeal to me. However, people I know who've done it absolutely love it. So there must be something in it. Yeah.
Would you like to tour some of the ones that are just parked up in?
I think it'd be fascinating.
Yeah, I think so too. While they're empty.
Yeah.
Are you going to do more meet the owners?
Yes, absolutely, definitely. I have 3 or 4 lined up. We can't do it at the minute because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got some quite interesting ones lined up, and I'm looking forward to doing them.
Loads and loads of people are willing to give you £200,000 to buy a boat.
It's very kind of you. Thank you so much.
What are you going to buy?
For 200,000. Probably for 200,000, I would probably buy. I like Dudwood Fudwood. I think that's very funny.
You think what?
Dudwood Fudwood. Somebody's called Dudwood Fudwood.
Okay.
I would, for £200,000. I thought about this. Smugglers Blues 3 would be probably a Fairline Targa 38, or a second-hand. This is, of course, or a Princess V42. And I got tours of both of those on the channels to explain exactly why.
Why are Marion's ears so red? I don't know.
They're not red in real life. I think the camera and the lights and things. But it is interesting. If you turn the lights out, they glow.
Yeah, and that's what I bring to the party.
It's helpful to be able to find her in the night time.
Have you been to the Isle of Man?
No.
I can't particularly get rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's find.
You're doing really well with all that business.
Oh, IT genius. I'm going to need a little lie down next to a large glass of wine in half an hour.
Understood. It's one of the
Well, can we do more weekends away in Smugglers Blues? We would absolutely love to.
Yeah.
It is the nicest way to spend a weekend. We're just hoping to get the get-go to do it as soon as the boat goes back in the water.
Absolutely. And also, filming it, we have to be a little bit careful because we don't want to end up just having our weekends on the boat doing filming, because then we're not getting quite the pleasure out of it. But if it's done in a reasonably sort of discreet way, this is what I have to figure out a little bit, so I'm not always there with my camera pointing and everything. It's really, really nice, I find, for us to be able to look back on them in the winter and go, oh, remember that trip we had down to Salcombe, or that trip we had up the River Dart? It's really nice. So we are very much, as much for ourselves as anybody else, hoping to do more of that.
I would definitely endorse that. Sometimes I just stick on a video, something we've done in the past, charter a yacht, for example, or just a weekend away on Smugglers, and it's so lovely, especially in the depths of winter, being reminded about sun and sand and water and friends and fish and chips and simple pleasures. Even just bobbing around in a bay on a weekend with a book and a packed lunch. It's just lush, and to be reminded of that when you can't actually do it, it's just the nicest thing.
Totally. Sometimes we'll go down to the boat and we just motor out for 10 minutes to a bay, drop anchor, and that's like a floating island for the afternoon, then, isn't it?
It's fantastic. Have you answered the question why it's called Smugglers Blues?
Okay, Smugglers Blues, I'll try and keep this as short as possible, is I'm a huge fan of Miami Vice. Oh, excuse me. Sort of talking. I'm a huge fan of Miami Vice, which is an 80s TV series. And some people, there are one or two people, there's one guy in particular with super yachts who names his super yacht after a different James Bond film. So he's had World Is Not Enough, and he's had Goldeneye, and so on. And my idea was to do the same with Miami Vice episodes. So I thought I could just call them different things. So the first one I called Smugglers Blues because I really liked not just the episode, it's a great episode, but it's actually a really good name. It sounds like a nice name for a boat. And I liked it so much that when I got the next boat, I just called it Smugglers Blues too. So I'm sticking with Smugglers Blues now.
Frances O'Rourke, the You Leitrim girls are welcome on Nick's boat at any time, aren't they?
Absolutely.
You would completely give myself, Georgina, Fonia, Frances, Sharon, Michelle, Marie, you give all of us the boat for the weekend.
Give me the keys, yeah, hope so. Have a great time. Don't know what's left.
That would be ace. I would love that. Okay, what else can we got here? Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Oh, Rolling Stones.
Okay, that was a short answer. I was expecting a little bit more time there to find the next question. There's no requirement for a boating license in the UK, is that correct?
That is correct. I like the Beatles as well, but I would go for the Rolling Stones out of the two. What I can listen to was one of them, it's the Rolling Stones.
Okay, have you been to Gibraltar?
No, I'd like to though.
Okay.
Hello, Gibraltar.
Okay, so I definitely need a little bit of help with this. Where's the furthest you've ever been from home? I guess Kelvin means on Smugglers.
Oh, okay. So Smugglers so far, because it lives in Torquay, it's gone as far as Foy in one direction, that's down in Cornwall, and it's gone as far as Lyme Regis in Dorset in the other direction. I always have big plans to take it further, never have the time. But I'd love to get it out up around Portlandville and into Poole, and then from Poole up into the Solent. But I would need a week or two, and you'd also need the right weather, and getting those combinations together is pretty difficult. But hopefully at some stage. But so far, yeah, Lyme Regis one way, for you the other.
Why don't you anchor overnight? So when we're out in the boat and we're staying overnight, we always stay in.
I get asked that a lot actually, because
I remember asking you myself. I didn't.
Yeah, it's a really lovely idea, and I'm really, really good at imagining the worst possible things that can happen. And if I anchored in a bay at night, the boat would be perfectly safe, and I'd be lying there wide awake, eyes wide open, imagining it, anchor dragging, landing on the rocks, the water coming in, everything getting ruined, and so forth. So yeah, I'm really, really, really good at worrying, and that's why we don't do it. But people do, and you can in fact set, and I haven't figured out how to do it, but you can set an anchor watch alarm on the GPS so that it sets there's a term for it, isn't there? A geo fence.
Okay.
And so you say, okay, if we go outside of this sort of distance, the alarm sounds.
Yeah.
So we could do it, and we ought to do it, and I should figure out how that works, and then at least we know the alarm's going to go off if the boat was to drag.
I think there's a risk though. You just lie there all night looking at the ceiling, going, waiting for the alarm to go off.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's snoring beside you.
Whereas you type in marina, you just know it's safe. So that's why we don't do
Peace
it.
of mind.
Yeah, exactly that.
And which is why the answer to the next question: could you cross the channel with smugglers, please?
Yep, the boat is certainly capable of doing it. However, it's a single-engine boat, and when you're going across the shipping lanes with massive, great big ships bearing down, and the English Channel is the biggest shipping lane in the world, having a single engine does rather focus the mind. So although the boat would do it, no problem, I would be reluctant to do it with a single engine boat, but people do, and there's no reason why it should be a problem. But if you did have an engine problem, you'd be really stuck. Whereas if you're going along the coast, you can drop anchor, you can get someone to come and help you, and so on.
If you didn't do this, what would you do?
Oh gosh, that's a.
If boats didn't exist, you can't broker them, you can't write about them, you can't review them. They're gone. Coronavirus is, it's been tough, but boats are gone.
Okay.
We now live on land.
I think my other interest probably is cars, and I'd try and do something with cars, something similar to cars. And I have a car channel, in fact, called Motorholic, which is very, very small compared to Aquaholic, and I don't have the time really that it deserves to put into it. But I like cars very, very much. Always have. Always read car magazines and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I'd try and do more with cars. But given the choice between cars and boats, I'd take boats.
You're not allowed boats though.
No, I'm just saying cars don't rate as highly with me as boats. But if boats didn't exist, cars would be the next rung down.
Okay, all right, okay. Love Motorholic, that's good.
You're very kind.
Next Top Gear presenter? Is that going to be you? I think that's the question. Are you going to be?
Oh, I see.
Going to be you?
It depends who else is on there, because the current cohorts, I'm sure they're lovely people, but they don't strike me as people I would necessarily want to necessarily do stuff with. Clarkson, love him or hate him. I'd love to meet Jeremy Clarkson. I'd love to do stuff with him, but I fear they are in a massive stratosphere above me, as indeed are the guys on Top Gear, of course. But yeah, it would be interesting then. Yeah, here we go.
This is a good question, actually. Is depreciation on boats the same thing as depreciation with new cars?
No.
New cars, new boats?
No, not at all. So, okay, if you look at if you buy an expensive car today, you buy a 7 Series BMW today, it's going to cost you a high-spec one, thick end of 100 grand. Go look at a 10-year-old BMW, which 10 years ago might have cost £70,000, and today it's probably worth 5 grand, 10 grand maybe. There's Ashley Pierce.
And he thinks that the more he gets to know me, the more he thinks you married up. He sounds like a nice guy, Ashley Pierce.
I mentioned Ashley because he named Maggie.
Oh, well done. Yeah. Let's see Maggie. Here she go. Here's Maggie.
So back to the case in point. So a car, you buy a car for 70 grand. I mean, typically I always buy cars at 3 years old, and a car at 3 years old is normally about half price. So my current car, for example, and your car, in fact, was 2 years old, wasn't it? We reckoned it's about half price compared to what it cost new. Yeah. So with a boat, okay, so go and look at a boat that's 10 years old, and it's probably not worth much less than it cost 10 years ago. The difference is that having sold it for that money, you can't then go and buy another boat today, because of course boats have gone up in those 10 years. So a 10-year-old boat will be relatively cheap compared to an equivalent new boat today, but it probably won't necessarily have lost a lot of money compared to what it cost 10 years ago.
Okay. So obviously Maggie's here. Ashley named Maggie. Jack wants to come and say hi now.
Jack Lesac is on the premises.
Who named Jack?
Well, you did. Do you know
yeah, well, that's true, but I chose from a short list. There were a lot.
So we asked for names for Jack. This whole bag thing's got completely out of hand. Let's be honest.
That's what we do now in South is we sit in front of a screen with our bags.
Yeah, stroking them. So Marianne very kindly bought me this bag. And I'm
going to give a shout out to the guy who made this. It's a handmade bag by a guy called Henry Tompkins, who lives near Exeter.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
And it smells gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
So we need a name for this, and so I did a video and asked people to come up with names, and then I gave Marianne the names, and she chose Jack Lesac.
Jack. Is Brexit going to affect you, Aquaholic, getting out and about?
I hope not. nobody knows really quite what the ramifications are. I don't think it's going to affect travel too much, and that, of course, is the crucial thing. I think it's going to have less effect than Corona is.
Yeah, lots of suggestions that you should do Jetaholic next.
I agree. I agree. If only I had the time, but I'd love to do that. I've only once been on a private jet, not flying, just went to have a look at one. I had somebody that I knew. In fact, it was my father. His boss had flown in on a private jet, so we went to have a look at it, and it was fantastic. And I'd love to do some looking around private jets, but I'm struggling to find the time for motorholic. But maybe one day.
Are trimarans the ultimate efficient configuration? So I'm being ignorant here. What's
3 hulls. So like a catamaran's 2.
Okay.
Trimaran is 3,
Okay.
and they tend to be like a major big hull and sometimes smaller outriggers.
Okay. And are they super stable?
Yeah. Are they most efficient? I don't know. They are efficient, but whether they're more efficient than catamarans, I don't know.
Carl, I don't think Marianne's pupils think anything about being taught by a superstar. Teachers of teenagers. Teenagers aren't well known for loving their teachers. It's more a case of, oh God. Here we go. Here she is. She's back again. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Can we have an aquatic bag tour, please? Yeah, no,
That'd be very intimate, wouldn't it? Looking inside Maggie. I'm not sure we could. No, that sounds almost pornographic.
Maggie's nether regions are her own.
Yeah, exactly.
Factory tours, that would be very, very interesting.
Factory tours, yes, they would, and we actually had one lined up with a major manufacturer. It's going to be fantastic, and we're going to show you the whole thing of how a boat's built from the moulding right through to completion, and then coronavirus, and that killed it dead. We're hoping to resurrect it at some stage, but it ain't going to be anytime soon. But yeah, very keen to do that. I'd love to show you guys around the factory. It is fascinating. I used to sell boats. Many years ago, I used to sell princess boats, and whenever I had somebody buying a princess boat, I would always take them down to the factory. And the comment I most often got was people would say, before I went to the factory, I couldn't understand why these boats are so expensive, and now I can't understand why they're so cheap. Because when you see what goes behind the scenes in building these things, Princess Yachts employs something like 3,000 people over, I think it's 7 sites. It's monumental, and everything is handmade. I mean, literally from molding the hull, the wiring, miles of wiring, and so on. They only buy things like engines and so on, and even the stainless steel. All the stainless steel rails are all made in house, and it's fascinating. So yeah, really want to do that and take you guys around the factory, and we will do once it is safe to do so again. Oh, Howard's Way. Now, would I be? Okay, if I was in Howard's Way, you haven't seen Howard's Way, have you?
No, I've been spared this.
Oh, it's brilliant. Would I be Jack Rolfe, or would I be Tom? I think the other guy was. I think I'll be Jack Rolfe. Yeah, you're not building bloody plastic boats in my yard, and that's final. And anybody who has, but obviously the accent's bad, really, really bad.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a lot of people.
Bob Uncle, hello, Bob Uncle.
Yeah, from Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
Ah. That's really nice. It's really nice to get so much lovely feedback.
I'd just like to say, if you're a regular contributor, and I would have recognised you, I haven't actually been watching this. Marianne has, so I'm sorry if I say hello to some people and others are thinking, well, hang on, I commented here, so you probably haven't noticed you flying past in a vast stream of stuff that's going through. Okay.
I don't know how long we can do this for, but a potential last question is:
yes.
Would you like to go around Britain by boat? And I don't think you could do it in Smugglers, not happily.
You technically could. Somebody's going around in their little inflatable at the moment.
Are they?
Bonkers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you like to?
It's not high on the list. I think, it would definitely be interesting, but I think there are other places I'd like to go. There are bits of the UK which are wonderful. The west coast of Scotland, I'm told, is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
There was a guy who wrote, he was from Scandinavia, and he came over on his boat and he did a whole lap of the UK.
Yeah.
And he wrote about it in Motorboat and Yachting, and he said the most beautiful areas, in his opinion, was the west coast of Scotland and the southwest, where we are. So we're kind of in one of the best bits.
And I guess there'll be lots of parts, big chunks that were not particularly interesting.
Yeah, or welcoming. In other words,
not
very rocky or whatever else. Yeah. No, I'm not bursting for that idea.
Leo McHugh wants to know who your favourite boating companions ever.
Leo McHugh, that name rings a bell.
Yeah, no, I can't think who that might be. Best companions, obviously.
There's that guy who's on the
David, amazing company on boats.
On the charter.
Fred, Sally.
And who was that? Kat. Kat was lovely.
Oh, she was amazing. I mean, absolutely, literally.
Yeah, I mean, she could do better though, couldn't she? Don't you think? You know what I'm saying, don't
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, yeah, but yeah. So best person ever on a boat, yeah, definitely Catherine Wells, amazing woman. Yeah, can't wait to be related to her. And lots of hearts from Kenneth Hardcastle.
Wow, for you, obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
Do the eyebrow. There you go.
That's the teacher eyebrow. Have you started drinking coffee yet? I might have to start drinking full stop pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely after this.
Yeah. We should do these quarterly.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you, Boat Sea Line. Good old Ireland. I want to go home. I'm not allowed to go home at the moment.
No, it's very, very frustrating, isn't it? And I have to say, Ireland is beautiful. I was introduced to Ireland by Marianne. I hadn't been there before, and I'm totally in love with it. It's just a wonderful. It feels a little bit like stepping back in time. Everything's just a little bit slower paced.
Yeah, everything slows down. It is wonderful.
And we need to take the car over. This year we're going to take my car over, and it's a convertible, and we're going to do a little tour of driving around Ireland with the roof down. Couldn't do it again.
Beautiful places down the west coast, especially. Okay, lots of people signing out. Really nice to see you here. Thank you so much for coming to play. Lots of love the hearts. Love all the lovely feedback. Best jet ski. Oh.
What was it?
Best jet ski.
Oh yeah, I love jet ski.
Okay. Southwest, still loads of people do them quarterly. Every quarter million subs. I agree, Leo. Yeah. Next, when we get to 500,000.
Imagine that.
Thanks, Sharon. Fantastic. The hour has sped by. Yeah,
it sure has. I think we're about there. We are. Look, that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Castles in Ireland. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. It's been brilliant. It's the first one we've done, as I said right at the beginning, and we weren't sure how it's going to go. And it has flown by. I can't believe it's an hour.
Yeah.
And I've talked and talked. I must have been very dull for you. As usual. You're used to it, I know.
It's been lovely. I've really entertained watching everybody's comments. It's so nice to actually feel like we're having a conversation with you guys.
Absolutely. And I go back to what I said earlier, which is the whole community thing of Aquaholic for us is brilliant, and we love reading the comments and we love answering them, and I hope you guys stay tuned. Stay safe, everybody. See you soon. Bye. How do we make this go away? I think end stream will do it. Oh, where's that? Oh yes, big massive red button. Little bit. End.